California Republican Party is holding its fall convention in San Diego to whip up delegate enthusiasm for GOP candidates. Meg Whitman and Carly Fiorina are on the agenda, but the featured speaker Saturday night is the ranking Republican on the powerful House Oversight and Government Reform Committees. My guest, Congressman Darrell Issa. Welcome.
Thanks, Aria.
So, as I said, you're the featured speaker at the convention. What's going to be your main message to the delegates?
I believe that Republicans have to relearn what the Founding Fathers intended, that the first branch of government was supposed to limit the second branch. And we haven't done a very good job. Oversight, which is the name of my committee, has not been nearly what it should be under either party, and it needs to be. We have 2 million people and trillions of dollars of taxpayer money, much of which is being wasted. And it's wasted because no administration looks for its own mistakes. It takes the IGs and the Congress to do that. And I want Republicans to be part of that program.
So let's talk a little bit about the oversight that you just mentioned. What does oversight mean to you?
It means that I don't make the rules. I see that the administration obeys the rules. I don't make the policy. I see that the administration is consistent in its execution of what it says its policy is.
So only the administration? Is that the only part of government that you would be overseeing? It
is. We don't have jurisdiction over the judiciary branch. The Supreme Court and the other courts are another committee I serve on, but judiciary. And the House has its own ethics committee and so on that oversees House members. So it's really just the constitutional responsibility of the House overseeing the 2 million people and many trillions of dollars you and I pay for.
If the Republicans become the majority in Congress, you'll become the chair of that committee. Has it done a good job so far? Would you change it a lot?
I would. I believe that under Republicans it didn't do enough oversight, although I could name some oversight that I wish we did that I'd like to do more of. And I also believe that it lost its way, that Congress holding the spending of this government accountable got lost. We all hear about earmarks being congressional spending in local districts. What we don't realize is there's more than tenfold as much that is discretionary by people that you don't even know their names. They're not confirmed by the Senate. They're just bureaucrats. That has to be seen to make sure it's fair and right.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Republicans. They're sort of becoming the party of no. Is there anything that the administration has done that you would support?
Well, we do support a lot that the administration has done. You only hear about the times in which the votes come down on party line. But remember, no is part of the job. We try to offer amendments. We're not allowed to offer amendments. We offer one alternative, what they call the motion to recommit. It's voted down on a party line, and then the final vote typically is party. That is not the process working properly, except if you don't allow constructive amendments, then you create a guarantee that you're going to have this no that you hear about.
Give me something that let's say our viewership would understand that you would support that the administration has done.
Well, first of all, the administration's handling of Afghanistan. They came in with an ideological bent to sort of close it up, send them home. Same with Iraq. They looked at the classified data, they met with the military leaders, and they changed. And they've had bipartisan support. Not all Republicans, not all Democrats, but the vast majority realize they're doing the best they can do in a tough situation. That would be a good example. Foreign policy. For the most part, our decisions on who we fund and how we fund financial aid, if you will, around the world, foreign aid as we call it, is pretty bipartisan. Those kinds of things go on pretty regularly.
Well, at the convention this weekend, one of the workshops is going to address the reversing the president's health care law. What's the objection to it?
Well, it's a long list. First of all, I'll make it as succinct as possible. Canada, which is many people's model in the Democratic Party, spends 9% of their gross domestic product on health care. We spend 18%. Under Obama's proposal, which is now law, it's going to 22%, but it doesn't cover everyone, and it has no cost containment. Republicans realize that we've got to drive down the cost of health care while maintaining a high level of service, and we're going the opposite direction. So is the problem real? Yes. Are the solutions, including eliminating defensive medicine, reducing the unreasonable lawsuits that sometimes occur that cost all of us a lot of money, was that dealt with in health care? No.
Are you saying then that the Republicans would make greater access for people to health care, make it more affordable than the president's plan?
Clearly, our cost of health care is greater than many of our neighbors because we allow defensive medicine to pop up. Every hospital administrator will tell you they do procedures in case they're sued. Those are over and above the ones that are therapeutically required. We need to end that. That's tort reform is the short for it. But absolutely, Republicans and Democrats want everyone to have health care, and we don't want it to be emergency room health care.
Finally, the whole immigration issue, you know, the president has signed $60 million bill to beef up border enforcement.
$600 million.
I'm sorry, 600. What did I say? Yeah.
I try not to confuse those zeros in Washington.
What can Republicans do now to encourage immigration reform?
We need to get interior reform, and I always say it's like a ship. You can't just patch the outside of the ship. You need a bilge pump. We keep talking about border security, and I'm for that. And the $600 million was primarily border security. But we need to have a system to allow guest workers to come in legally, and we need to have a system that those who break the rules and come in illegally can be deported.
What would you do with 11 million people? Would you deport all 11 million?
I believe that you have to ask the question of each individual. Is this individual eligible for a guest worker program? Do they have a job? Or are they part of the Oceanside gang that terrorizes the legal immigrant community? Well, the answer is very different based on which of those two it is.
What a job. Thank you very much, Congressman
You're very
Darrell
welcome.
Issa.